Hello, Keizer community. I want to thank the Keizer Chamber of Commerce for hosting this year's State of the City Address for the City of Keizer. Taking time to reflect on the last year and plan for our year ahead is important for keeping us grounded and focused in our work, as well as celebrating and appreciating who we are as a community and what we continue to accomplish together. I am honored to be able to share this message with you all today. In that spirit of appreciation, I would first like to thank my colleagues on the Keizer City Council, Council President Shani Starr, Councilors Dan Kohler, Kyle Duran, Sarita Cross, Lori Christopher, and Marlene Parsons. And a special thank you to two colleagues who served during 2024. Councilor Laura Reed, who has concluded 8 years of distinguished service on City Council, and Councilor Robert Hussman, who served for 18 months, but, as is all too often the case in all volunteer service, needed to shift gears in September and take care of family needs. We thank them both for their service to the people of Keizer. I would also like to acknowledge and thank our extraordinary executive leadership team, led by the City Manager Adam Brown, our Assistant City Manager Tim Wood, City Recorder Melissa Bissett, Police Chief Andrew Copeland, Planning Director Shane Witham, and Public Works Director Bill Lawyer. And new to the team in 2024, City Attorney Joe Lindsay and Human Resources Director Garrett Cleaver. With their recently retired predecessors, City Attorney Shannon Johnson and Human Resources Director Michelle DePina. This team leads our staff of about 100 dedicated public service professionals who strive to deliver quality city services every day to our 40,000 residents. Keizer may be defined as a full-service city, but we clearly do not provide all the services we need on our own. We have important partners in fire protection, Keizer Fire District and Marion County Fire District No. 1. In education, Salem-Keizer School District, Chemeketa Cooperative Regional Library Service, and Chemeketa Community College. In the environment, the Marion Soil and Water Conservation District and the Oregon State University Extension Service. For transit, the Salem-Keizer Transit District. And many services that we provide through contract with the City of Salem or in regional collaboratives such as the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. Add governments such as Marion County and the state of Oregon who have broader mandated regional and statewide responsibilities, along with our businesses and community-based organizations, and, well, you get the picture. Being in community is a team effort in which we all actively participate. Being clear about who we are as a city and community keeps us grounded and focused on who we are and what we contribute as we put our motto of pride, spirit, and volunteerism into action every single day. And with a long-standing mission to, quote, keep city government's costs and services to a minimum by providing city services to the community in a coordinated, efficient, and least-cost fashion, end quote. It is imperative we stay focused on the basics, ensuring quality and value to the residents and in coordination, i.e. partnerships I just listed, to achieve our goals. So today, let's look at last year's by the numbers, the projects we have completed, and then let's talk about our vision for our work and goals ahead for 2025 as we seek to be grounded, but not tied down, focused, but not short-sighted, as we continue to create this amazing community and city of Keizer that we call home. So looking at Keizer by the numbers, the Salem Metropolitan Statistical Area, which is a census tract that looks at economic activity, that includes both Keizer and Salem. We have about 42.9% of workers living in the Salem MSA commute outside the area for work, which is a little bit of increase from past years. Meanwhile, 39% of people employed in our area commute in. The percentage of workers who both live and work in the Salem MSA area remains stable around 57.1%, which indicates consistent local employment retention. That is a good thing for our businesses. Looking at our population, Our population has shown increases generally when there's an increase in housing of any type in Keizer. In this decade, Keizer's population has stayed fairly flat, although in 2021, Keizer did follow statewide trends of a slight decrease in population overall. For people who would like more information, I encourage you to go to the City of Keizer website and look at the slide deck from a recent meeting of the Long Range Planning Task Force. Slide number 4 has all sorts of good, yummy information about the statistics for Keizer. Well, let's look at property values. In 2014-2015, as I began service as mayor, our cumulative real market property value was about $2.8 billion. That was in the second year of recovery after the 4-year slide due to the 2008 financial and housing crisis. In 2017-19, Keizer experienced growth of value through development investment that resulted in double-digit increase in real market value. The 2020 shutdown reduced growth for a year, but values increased over 10% per year for the following 2 years, as projects already underway were completed and the real estate market experienced housing shortages that drove up prices. These last 2 years have seen significant slowing as ARPA and other large federal spending programs have been drawing to a close. Projects were delayed or canceled due to significant cost increases due to inflation, and housing price increases began to plateau. But even with all of that, Keizer's real market value of properties has now topped $6 billion. In 2025, with more projects coming online in neighborhoods like mine and commercial areas, as well as the anticipated sale and development of city-owned lands, which had been held back for 5 years following their acquisition due to foreclosure, followed by the aforementioned pandemic years, we will likely see another substantial bump in real market value. Well, we all know Keizer continues to be a good investment for residential and business development. Now, people who are listening like you really understand that real market value does not necessarily result in the same increase in property tax revenues to provide services to the new development. This is particularly true of residential properties. A little thing called Measure 50 created a CPR, because that's what you need when you hear about it, or the change property ratio. It calculates a scaled down investment value, assessed value for taxation purposes. So cities, special districts, and counties can only tax a fraction of the real property value in development. Single-family detached is about 50%. Multifamily is as low as a little over 40%. So even with about $18 million of value in the building permits in Keizer in 2023-24, an increased property value that's good for our economy and for those of us who are property owners and business owners, that does not translate into stable funding for publicly funded services that have experienced the same inflationary pressures as private businesses. So let's now look at demographics. This is from community survey data from July of 2023 from the U.S. Census Bureau and from the Portland State University Population Resource Center. So this data is all publicly available for all of you who'd like to learn more. So let's look at our race and ethnicity. Our eyes tell us, and data confirms, that we are growing in diversity of culture, languages, and races, as well as maintaining a fairly decent distribution across age groups. With about 74% of Keizer residents identifying as white, the number of people who identify as 2 or more races is at 14% and climbing, along with increasing Hispanic and Latino populations at about 25% overall, but is substantially higher in our schools. Looking at owner-occupied housing, from 2019 to 2023, Keizer's rate was 62.8%. Of people being in owner-occupied housing. The number of households in Keizer was at about 14,595, with about 2.64 persons per household. I'm trying to figure out who the 0.64 is, but maybe the kids were having sleepovers at their friends' houses or something. I don't know. But at any rate, one of the good pieces that really speaks to the investment that Keizer makes in our education is that high school graduate or higher, the percentage of people aged 25 and older was at 89.5%. Quite frankly, I expect that number to be in the 90s when we get our new data this summer. Looking at our income and poverty rates, our median household income between 19 and 23 was at about $81,217. And our per capita income, of course, that includes everybody from our kiddos to our elders, was at $36,724. Our poverty rate shows 8.4%. And while that seems rather low, and it is, I don't think it really reflects the need we are seeing in our community. Our food bank and our social services, many of whom are our amazing community partners, are seeing needs rates that really speak to a higher need in our community. The generosity of the people in our community to fund our nonprofits, our food banks, and other services really speaks to what a kind of community Keizer is to take care of one another. The last little piece of data I'll throw your way is our population per square mile is about 5,480. Does that mean we're kind of cozy? Yes, it does. So, what will the 2024 numbers tell us when that data emerges this summer? It'll tell us that which of the changes that we've experienced during the pandemic, social changes, workforce changes, will continue to sort out, and which ones will continue to impact or which ones will be temporary. We are going to need to watch these trends closely. Data, good information helps us make good, solid decisions. I'm really gratified by the request last year by our council and the Long Range Planning Task Force to meet more frequently each year. Up until now, we've had the Long Range Planning Task Force once a year. This began back in 2008 when we really needed to get everybody together to figure out how our dollars were going to stretch during that financial crisis. The usefulness and the benefit of that task force has been so great that we've continued it ever since. But by meeting more often and checking in and keeping current on what's happening with our financial picture, we've had an opportunity for better dialogue as well as put an end to the old quote-unquote status quo, which for me was shorthand for, well, we have financial needs and concerns, but we're not articulating them to the Council and Budget Committee. Yeah, that didn't fly. How are we going to know what we need if we aren't hearing it? So we have been very, very focused on making sure we have that opportunity for dialogue. And indeed, the March meeting of the Long Range Planning Task Force was 3 hours. And it was a tremendous example of healthy dialogue, information sharing, and it was televised for all of you to be able to hear, see, and the information is posted online so you too can follow along. Information is power. So over this last year, in keeping with being grounded in our basics and focusing on our imperatives, Keizer has been engaged in significant project and program work. It's not always sexy, it's not an ooh shiny where we cut a ribbon, although we did our fair share of that this last year. But it's that foundational work that makes sure we are in a good space and solid footing going forward. Let's look at our 2022 to 24 council goals. We accomplished many of them and are rolling on to the next steps with several of them as well. On our urban growth boundary discussion for next steps, the City Council has directed that town halls will now be conducted to bring the community into the discussion of the data regarding costs and benefits of our land use and supply, and indeed our quality of life. Citywide, we had a goal of camera systems. We now have license plate readers, parks cameras, and soon we'll have police body cameras. Those cameras, the body cams, are being purchased through a grant. Additionally, we have expanded the use of police drones with the goal that at least one drone operator will be on duty during each shift to more quickly and safely investigate, track, and bring suspects into custody. Police Chief Andrew Copeland has a growing number of examples where the drones have been valuable tools for our police to reduce the risk to our residents and law enforcement and law enforcement personnel. These are wonderful ways that we can use technology to keep our community safer. We have also completed comprehensive updates and modernization of city systems. We've simplified our procurement. That means buying stuff. We now have an entire municipal code. You know, from the start of this city 42 years ago, we had never put our ordinances into a code until now. So thank goodness we were able to carve out the money as we have been trying to for years and get this done. It's going to make it so much easier for you and me, as well as our city staff, to keep our ordinances easy to find and easy to keep current. We also now have our first ever Human Resources Information System, HRIS. The days of Excel spreadsheets are coming to an end, thank goodness. We thoroughly updated our community event center policies and practices. We continued to build out the use of our agenda management system. And you're going to see website updates coming soon that are going to use efficiencies because it's compatible with the systems we already have purchased and are using for our information. So it's going to make it even easier for you and me to stay informed and stay connected. Data is power. Together, we updated our neighborhood traffic management program. This is something that hadn't been updated since 2005 to 2009. And with the leadership of Tammy Saldivar and our Traffic Safety Bike Ped Committee, they did a wonderful job in updating this into a modern system that is easier for people to use, report concerns, ideas, and for us to keep track of those issues. We also updated our neighborhood association framework, which hadn't been updated since the last century, and our city staff has been working hard with our partners on updating our emergency operations planning. That's just to name a few. We prioritize infrastructure maintenance programs that we strive to keep fully funded and supported, which saves everyone money in the long run. Roads, water, and our system of 19 parks are all critical infrastructure to ensure we keep in a state of good repair. Our environmental division has been particularly successful in engaging with our community to understand and care for our stormwater system, as well as do parks projects like pollinator gardens, vegetated stormwater facilities, as cost-effective ways to create healthy and beautiful spaces for our city. Recent parks additions like the all-weather sports fields and pickleball courts, as well as preparation for our next playground replacement projects and the fundraising and planning for the installation of the Gold Star Family Memorial at Keizer Station, they all speak to the love we have in Keizer for our parks. So going forward, as Keizer works through our 5th decade of existence, there are key elements that I believe will help us chart our own course for the future. Keizer, as a safe, welcoming community that prioritizes public safety, that includes us all in an active role in watching out for and caring for our neighbors. A Keizer as a strong local economy that supports business and jobs growth and vitality. A Keizer as a hub of vibrant culture of arts, literature, outdoor spaces and activities, community gathering and celebration. Keizer that seeks continuous improvement to responsibly provide the quality of services our people deserve. And Keizer as a place of belonging where everyone, you, me, everyone, has an active role in creating this wonderful community we call Keizer. So what does that look like for Keizer in 2025? Thank you for asking. In our goal-setting session on February 24th, the council and city staff worked together to create a substantive and mission-focused list of short and long-term objectives that are grounded in our community needs and focused on realistic delivery of services long-term. Our short-term goals include continuing the revision of our emergency operations plan. Like I said, we have a grant. Our 5-year strategic plan to get this completed. It's already being used in many of our departments. The goal is to our family memorial to get it fully funded and constructed with a target of a September 28 unveiling this year. Our Parks Master Plan revision is going to be focused on the Keizer Rapids Park and whether or not we will build a pavilion or covered structure out there. The Sidewalk Gap Program is something that we've been interested in doing for a long time on what it will take to be able to connect sidewalks where there aren't any and to bring them into a state of good repair. Traffic congestion in many of our spaces is an ongoing conversation in our community, and thanks to a grant, we will be able to do significant work through our Transportation System Plan update, which has been needing to be done since it was last done in 2009. We are going to have the conversation, as I said, about the urban growth boundary expansion or not, and the next steps. This is a conversation that we, the people of Keizer, need to lead and do the telling on what our future holds. We will also look at a utility discount program for families with or family members under the age of 60 and in need. We have one for 16 over, and Council has directed that we look for one that's more comprehensive. And finally, we will look at the Willow Lake settlement area. This is an area out by the Willow Lake treatment plant. What are the options for the land out there for development? Rolling into our long-term goals, they build on the short-term. Again, looking at our economic opportunities analysis and our housing capacity analysis, both of which need to be updated. What are the next steps with the Sidewalk Gap Program? And what are the next steps with traffic congestion? And, of course, the next steps with the urban growth boundary options. So looking at the year ahead, what can you expect from our city? Public safety will continue to be job one. We will be building out our camera systems, adding the police evidence facility, and we will also continue recruitment and retention of police professionals who are practice problem-solving policing and are critical to creating a safe community. Our police are fully funded but are not currently fully staffed as recruitments and hiring processes are in progress. In addition, the Long Range Planning Task Force showed that we have important decisions to make to ensure stable funding for public safety services over the next several years. We are all going to be involved in that funding conversation. We will also continue collaborating with our regional partners as we must increase efforts in education, enforcement, and treatment as the opioid and fentanyl drug crises continue to take a toll on our families and neighborhoods. Our location on the I-5 corridor makes this partnership even more critical as we are impacted by sex and human trafficking, organized retail theft, and international drug trafficking. Keizer is not on an island. And Keizer does rely on Marion County to provide detention, jail, and parole and probation services, and we value being in the discussions as they also struggle with staffing and resources to continue to reliably deliver these services for cities. The State of the County address on April 9th will help frame their ongoing efforts in this and related issues, and I'm looking forward to learning more about the efforts for Marion County, a valued partner in our regional governance. Second, infrastructure is foundational. Roadways must be kept in a state of good repair. With diminishing buying power of the state gas tax funds, our goal of a quality road system with regular maintenance is increasingly difficult to achieve. As an active member of our Mid-Willamette Valley Area Commission on Transportation, Keizer continues to advocate for ensuring we have local funds for maintenance, as well as build key improvements, such as our upcoming Verta Lane project to add sidewalks and bike lanes that were not part of the old farm neighborhoods prior to us becoming a city. Wheatland Road Phase 1 is the next one in line for which we are seeking funding. And we will be starting our transportation system plan update this year, again, thanks to the grant. Water systems are life. Our system of 15 wells and 3 reservoirs provides clean, reliable water to our entire city, along with 2 interties to the city of Salem for use in the event of an emergency, and we have used them. Consistent, methodical maintenance replacement and updates has kept the system in a state of good repair with very high water quality, and we're able to adapt with unforeseen issues and provide a predictable cost level for our ratepayers. Public Works is continuing their work to replace water mains according to the schedule to reduce the risk of pipe failure and to keep that water flowing and reliably clean. Our water costs per month of about $16.16 per household are about half of the next three lowest rate cities. Salem, Woodburn, and Oregon City all are in the $32 a month range, and it goes up from there. Talking about stormwater, our environmental division continues to add education, community involvement, and a strong maintenance program for the piped and vegetated systems, as well as partnership with organizations like the Claggett Creek Watershed Council. The Willow Lake Estate Storm Drain Realignment Project is planned for the next few years and is projected to cost ratepayers about $1.92 a month to construct. At that rate, the cost to Keizer ratepayers will be similar to West Lynn and still well below other cities whose costs run as high as $23 a month for their environmental and stormwater systems. Keeping our stormwater system in good condition is not only federally mandated, it's good financial and environmental practice and makes sense for Keizer. Families are, of course, invited to Public Works Days, Trashy Tuesday, Parks projects, and the annual City Hall cleanup to get involved personally and take care of our shared spaces and places. Graffiti cleanup has expanded with a new partnership between our neighborhood associations led by Northwest Keizer Neighborhood Association and the McNary High School Junior ROTC. Thank you to Counselor Marlene Parsons and so many others who helped spearhead this partnership. By getting the graffiti cleaned up thoroughly and staying on top of it, we are going to send a clear message to everyone that graffiti is not tolerated in our community, and putting graffiti on something does not change the fact that this belongs to all of us, all the people of Keizer. Let's shift to our local economy. In our land use, we have made development and redevelopment easier through our River Cherry Overlay District and will continue to be as responsive as we can to development as it comes into our city and make it easy for properties to grow and serve our community. The robust work by the Planning Department and Planning Commission to open opportunities for middle housing projects, as I said, I'm living in the middle of them in my neighborhood, and that has been good for creating more options for home buying. The city will continue to be responsive to businesses for projects to build, new, or expand. Of particular note is that the In-N-Out Burger that we collaborated to work with, but other cities have yet to figure it out. We now saw last year that Ziply Fiber invested in Keizer, installing a fiber system throughout town, which will increase options and choices for the currency of our economy, which is fast access to information and data. Data is king. Our low property tax rates and system development charges will continue to encourage development and redevelopment within the current city limits. And as noted in our long-range goals, we do need to update our economic opportunities analysis and housing capacity analysis. We will watch our data, such as the jobs report that comes out every month and shows state trends. Right now, we're seeing a slight decline in manufacturing jobs and a slight uptick in unemployment rates that edged up last month to 4.4%. More recent data is now showing that we're bumping back down to 4.2 for seasonally adjusted. By keeping track of this data, we will be better able to help our property owners and business owners be more flexible in evolving markets. Looking now at housing, homelessness, and community life, our ongoing collaboration through our HUD-established continuum of care, known as the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance, has, over our 5 years, allowed us to get the attention and resources we deserve for our high-needs populations, our long-term or chronically homeless community members, and provide resources through partners such as the Salem Housing Authority, which covers the entire Salem-Keizer urban growth boundary area, i.e., Keizer's included, and the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency, Church at the Park, Soaring Heights, Oxford House, Simonka Place, St. Monica's, and more that are working to stem the tide of risks of losing housing through rent increases, housing shortages, addiction, mental health needs, and more. Keizer's niche has been shown to be our neighborhoods, which are welcoming for successful transitional housing. Over the years, residents in these transitional homes have received services they need and new community relationships that encourage them in their journey. Transitional homes in my neighborhood are good neighbors, and their residents often end up volunteering and paying it forward into the next person who needs to know that they too matter and belong. Partnered with Salem, Marion County, and the state of Oregon, along with our strong network of service, health, and housing providers, we are building a strong fabric of safe, sanitary, and welcoming shelter and housing that better meet the needs of people who are not stably sheltered and housed. The urban growth boundary, as I've said, is an ongoing discussion with the people of Keizer, and we are now able to have that discussion. When we finished the last studies around 2020, some things happened where we could not have the community's discussion that was really next on the list, as the changes to the urban growth boundary have financial costs and cultural costs to Keizer. Our city council wants to make sure that you and I and all of us are engaged in this conversation to set our course for our future. In closing, Keizer continues to build on our well-grounded values that put our motto of pride, spirit, and volunteerism into action every single day. We continue to focus on local issues while being actively involved in regional and state issues, using our voice and our values at each and every table and any table where decisions are made to make a positive difference in our region. In fact, our region has learned to rely on the fact that day after day, year after year, Keizer will continue to show up and speak up for ourselves and make a positive difference for us all. Thank you all for listening, and thank you for allowing me to continue to serve as the mayor of the great city of Keizer, where pride, spirit, and volunteerism is more than a motto, it's our way of life. Take care.